This is the original podcast edition of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton, now part of the complete Pirates of Wefrevane series. The books are available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. This podcast originally aired from 2010 to 2014. Stick around after the story for commentary from me, the author, more than a decade later. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, a story of pirates in Panamindorah. Written, narrated, and produced by Abigail Hilton. Book 5, Shores Beyond the World. Warning: this novel was intended for people who shop in the grown-up section of the bookstore. If you need to ask whether you will be offended, you probably will. Episode 7. Chapter 20. Arton.
Anything that threatens hierarchy threatens the position of wyverns. They care enormously about the resistance, but they won't attack an ordinary smuggler unless he gets himself mixed up with fawns. That's easy to do because the resistance has its fingers tangled with local crime. That's why the Temple's Sea Watch and police often find themselves at odds with ordinary criminals. However, the only thing the wyverns really care about is the maintenance of hierarchy. Gwaine, the truth about wyverns.
The students were packed in less than a quarter watch. It was decided that 2 of their party should go get Felbane and ride him back to the Fang. The other 2 should return in the Meerkat, which was beached a short hike out of town. Gerard obviously needed to go with the Meerkat to sail her, and Silvio thought that he should go with Felbane. Phineas also wanted to ride Felbane to see how he flew on his injured wing, so that left Arton to walk back to the Meerkat with Gerard. The tea had contained some stimulant, but, even so, Gerard was beginning to feel a little surreal and sleepy as they parted company. He and Arton spoke very little as Arton led the way through the dimly lit streets of the bestiary, out into the farming district, and then beyond to the beach on the edge of the jungle. Gerard watched the boy weaving ahead through the dunes, stopping occasionally to readjust his pack. Arton still seemed young to Gerard, although he must be 17 or 18 now. His curly, reddish-brown hair had grown down to his shoulders, and he had the awkward lankiness of a young person who had gained his height recently. His clothes were patched and faded, the leather of his boots cracked and mishappened, and his pants and coat sleeves were not quite long enough. Yet Arton was humming under his breath. He seemed buoyant, almost giddy. Gerard smiled. When they found the Meerkat, Arton helped Gerard drag it through the dunes to the water's edge. Then Gerard made him get in and told him what to do with the sail as he pushed the boat out past the breakers. Soon they were skimming over the swells towards the distant hulk of the Fang in the moonlight. If all had gone as planned, Silvio, Phineas, and Felbane had reached their destination some time ago. The wind was not ideal, and Gerard had to tack in a zigzag line towards the ship. The swells, even on this calm night, were higher than they would have been inside the Crescent. Still, the brisk walk had woken him, and Arton's good mood was infectious. With his hand on the boom and the bright moons overhead, Gerard felt a sense of invigoration and contentment. Arton sat on a bench, blinking into the salt wind. Gerard wanted to ask a question, but breaking the silence felt awkward. He remembered the way Gwaine had phrased things.
Arton, can I ask you a nosy question?
Arton turned his head. His expression was uncertain, a little wary. The crazy half-smile that had been on his face all evening disappeared. Gerard plunged on.
Did Silvio hurt you more than he helped you?
I did not come out right. You're tired, Gerard. You should know better than to start these conversations when you're tired.
Arton looked down at his cracked boots.
No, Gerard. Silvio, he never did anything except sleep beside me. Well, except the first night. The first night he did kiss me, and I was frightened. But then he said, "Do you want that?" And I said no, and he said, "If you change your mind, tell me. Out there, I'm the Admiral, but in here, I'm just Silvio." He'd snap at me sometimes, but my own father was crueler to me than Silvio ever was.
His dark brown eyes regarded Gerard curiously.
Do you think there's something wrong with me?
Gerard felt like an ass and a hypocrite.
If there is, there's something wrong with me, too.
Arden seemed to misinterpret Gerard's silence as assent.
Silvio didn't mess me up. He saved me. My father knew what I was before I did. He started trying to beat it out of me before I understood what he was trying to beat out. He had a brother. I didn't understand back then, but I knew my uncle always looked sad and scared. Sometimes I think I reminded my father of his brother. Or maybe he just hated what he didn't understand. When I was really little, I was more comfortable playing with girls. Father stopped that. He said they were the wrong kind of friends, or the wrong kind of girls. He didn't like the kind of boys I made friends with either. So I wasn't allowed to have any friends, other than my brother and sister, and they were a lot older. Mother wasn't the sort to interfere. She always looked sad and scared too. I wanted to be a scribe, or a book mender. That made Father even angrier. He was a mason. He apprenticed me to a smith when I was 11. That didn't work out. When I was 13, Father said he was going to sign me onto a merchant escort ship owned by a cousin, a fighting ship. I ran away and joined the Sea Watch instead. I knew the gods offered some protection to Shelts who swore allegiance. Father couldn't come and get me like he could from other ships. On the Fang, though,
Arden took a deep breath.
Silvio demanded that everyone do their job efficiently. But he ignored all kinds of things that other captains wouldn't have tolerated. After the way my father behaved, I thought my differences must be stamped on my forehead, and I got scared again. I'd heard enough talk in taverns to guess what might happen to a kid like me, aboard a rough ship. I didn't know whether I'd have the courage to complain if anyone harassed me. I just wanted to be left alone.
Gerard frowned.
You really thought you'd have trouble, just because you're different?
Arden snorted.
I did have trouble. If you'd found out that a girl had signed on pretending to be a boy, wouldn't you be a little worried about her? Not that the sailors preferred someone like me, but some of them... I don't know why Shelts are the way they are. I just know that I was scared, and I knew I had good reasons to be. I knew that the sailors who were watching me were valuable to the ship, and I wasn't. I started getting solicitations, and I knew I was in trouble. I kept stalling, kept trying to avoid them, but it was only a matter of time. Then one day, I was putting the Admiral's cabin in order before that awful storm when we got blown into the small kingdoms. I was putting his books away and shutting the cupboards. I always volunteered for that job because I loved looking at his books. Silvio was walking in and out of the room. He didn't usually take any notice of me, and I wasn't paying attention to him. Then he stopped, right beside where I was kneeling, and said, "Would you like better access to my books, Arden?" I looked at him, and he had this sort of calculating expression on his face. I knew what he was asking, but just to make sure, I said, "Do you mean, would I like to sleep near them?" He laughed and said, "Yes."
Arden grimaced at the memory.
I couldn't even answer. I just nodded. Then I went back to my hammock and sobbed into my pillow. I was so scared, but at least I figured this way I wouldn't end up being the plaything of half the ship.
Gerard was surprised.
So, he kept you safe?
Arden nodded.
Kept me safe and let me keep my innocence. Once Silvio claimed me, the sailors left me alone. And of course I wasn't sleeping in the forecastle anymore. I'm still not sure whether he knew my situation. Probably. He never talked about it, though. He never talked to me about much of anything. And I never exactly felt like we were friends, but... well, it's difficult not to feel protective of Silvio when he cries in his sleep and paces all night because he's afraid to come to bed. When you see the difference between his public and private personas, when he won't talk to you, but he falls asleep holding your hand.
Arden sighed.
I'm not an idiot. I know Silvio had other reasons for doing what he did, and I know that if I'd said yes when he kissed me, he would have done things that wouldn't have been good for me. Still, he was kind when he didn't have to be, and he gave me more than I can ever repay him. It's probably a good thing he sent me away when he did. By then, I was in danger of changing my mind about what I wanted. I would have fallen desperately in love with him if he'd given me the slightest encouragement. And Silvio has more problems than I could deal with. I knew he was complicated and dangerous, that I wasn't even seeing half of it.
That is true.
He sent me here,
said Arden, gesturing behind them towards the bestiary.
I made friends, real friends my own age for the first time in my life. I met someone who shares my interests and loves me for who I am. We'd just gotten to the point in our studies that we were looking for some place where we could both practice beast medicine and not sneak around to be together. Such places exist, but getting set up in one is difficult. With all the unrest and the Sea Watch and police taking special interest in me, things seemed even more complicated. And here's Silvio again, helping me find my way. He's like, I don't know, my guardian spirit.
Gerard smiled. They were almost back to the Fang. He could see lights in the cabin windows and hear shouts calling across the water.
I think you'll find the Fang's a different ship these days. They had a bad year after Silvio left. There were only about a third of the old complement left, and they've been friendly to everyone we've brought on board, including freed fawn slaves from the galley.
Arden nodded.
I figured. And I'm better at defending myself these days. I'm not a scared little kid anymore.
They were in the moon shadow of the Fang now, and sailors were throwing ropes to them. Gerard wished that he'd started this conversation earlier. There were more things that he would have liked to hear and say.
I criticized Silvio about you when you first turned up in his cabin. It made him furious, but Silvio never justifies himself. At least he didn't back then. He never explained.
Arden shook his head.
When you went missing after the spiders attacked us, he was inconsolable. That was when I found out how bad his nightmares can get. He didn't have them so much when you were aboard.
He grinned.
Maybe you're his guardian spirit.
Chapter 21. Nice.
There may come a day when the temple dragons wish they had paid more attention to organized crime in Wefervane. Gwaine, The Truth About Wyverns.
Silvio ambled, yawning, down from the quarterdeck just as Gerard and Arden were climbing over the side. His fur and hair were damp, but white again, and he was wearing one of his inlaid medallions on a chain around his neck. It flashed with ivory and pearl.
Gerard, the Fang had a griffin from the Nightingale while we were away. We're going to meet them just inside the Crescent on our way to Masia Minor.
That's excellent.
Yes, apparently Basil's back to his old tricks again, and he joined some Ocelon pirates from Cern. The Ocelons and Leopons have seized some of the Krishnard merchant ships in their harbors, and they've been making life interesting for everyone.
Gerard frowned.
Is Coloan trying to pick a fight with the entire Crescent?
Silvio laughed.
I suspect Coloan is barely hanging on to Slag Harbor. He might have more control than anyone else, but I doubt he's in any position to legislate. These pirates are acting on their own.
Behind them, Gerard heard Farrell directing Arden to a cabin. He was tempted to introduce Arden to Dakar and ask whether or not he thought she was a beast, but he was too tired tonight. It would be dawn soon. He went into the outer office, dropped his muddy pack, and started to strip off his wet clothes. Silvio sat on his desk, swinging his legs and talking.
Phineas got along splendidly with Felbane, asked him all kinds of questions about when he was a cub and illnesses and accidents and what he eats and gods knows what else. Phineas thinks he can reset the wing. He says the sooner the better, so I guess he'll do it tomorrow.
Gerard quirked a smile.
I talked to Arden on the way back. You seem to have broken a lot of hearts over the years.
Silvio looked indignant.
I did nothing of the kind.
What did he call you? His guardian spirit?
Silvio rolled his eyes.
Arton has a highly inflated concept of my virtues. I thought I told you I was just sleeping with him.
Yes, but I still thought you ruined his reputation. From what he said, his reputation would have been in a lot worse shape without you.
Gerard donned a clean shirt. He started towards the desk, but Silvio hopped down, dodged around him, and stalked into the inner office.
So what? You want to hear about it?
Well, I'm curious after hearing his side, but you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
I don't see how you were a watchmaster for a year and didn't notice this stuff.
Humor me.
Silvio crossed his arms and frowned.
Most sailors don't like boys particularly, but if he's young and a little effeminate, they'll be happy to pretend he's a girl. The longer they're at sea, the less picky they get, and the Sea Watch is special, because so many of them had rough lives and don't maintain attachments on the mainland. Arton was sweet and gentle, and he didn't know how to fight. He was also socially inept. He didn't joke with the sailors or gamble with them. He wouldn't go drinking or wenching with them in port. He'd been with the Fang for almost a year, and he still didn't have any real friends or allies. When we were in Dragon's Eye around the time you were promoted, someone started a rumor that Arton didn't have the right bits in his pants, and he didn't do anything about it.
Silvio shook his head.
The kid was setting himself up for an education he didn't want. I've seen this type of thing before. Their parents kick them out or beat them until they run away. A ship offers a quick escape, and it doesn't take any skill to be a cabin boy. They come aboard green. The crew smells something funny. The kid gets bullied or bribed into someone's hammock. Next thing he knows, he's getting passed around. Maybe he complains, and maybe he doesn't, but in the end, the captain or boatswain blames the kid because the kid is expendable. As far as the officer is concerned, he had a good, hard-working crew until this deviant came along, and now they're fighting over him and not doing their jobs. Worst scenario, the kid gets hung from the yardarm for conduct unbecoming a sailor. But most captains are wary of that level of hypocrisy. It generates discontent. More likely, the kid just gets put ashore at the first opportunity. He finds himself in some distant port where he knows no one. Often a few shelts in port know why he was abandoned, and that makes it difficult for him to get another low-skill job aboard a ship. He's got no marketable skills, except what the sailors have taught him. He's hungry, and it has already been demonstrated to him that shelts will pay for what he's got. That's how nice boys become dock prostitutes.
So you rescued him?
Said Gerard. Silvio waved his hand.
That whole cycle is bad for a crew, bad for everyone. I stopped it before it got started.
Silvio, you take compliments worse than anyone I have ever seen.
Gerard thought for a moment.
You invited him into your cabin right around the time you were making friends with Thess and me. Do you think you would have done it otherwise?
Silvio looked uncomfortable.
I don't know, Gerard. Do you want me to say that you make me nicer?
Gerard gathered him up.
I want you to say you made a choice, and it was a choice to help someone. I don't know why you think that's so difficult to admit. Is it your way of punishing yourself?
Silvio squirmed in his arms.
The nice things I've done are a drop in the sea of the...
Gerard was kissing the side of his throat, just under his jaw.
Silvio, I like nice.
Silvio gave a dizzy giggle.
Oh, then, well, I'll be nice. I'll be whatever you want.
Chapter 22. Kittens.
Like their animal counterparts, ocelons have children in small litters of 2 to 4. The infants are born very small, with eyes and ears still sealed. In rural ocelon societies, the parents will then select which children they will raise, based upon their resources. The offspring are not considered true people until their eyes and ears open, and their deaths are not considered murder. On Cern, of course, the brothels or great estates will pay for unwanted ocelon children, so this practice has been abandoned. Some would call this progress. Gawain, the non-Grishnards of Weffervane.
They met the Nightingale 2 days later. She was with 3 other ships. 2 predominantly Ocelon ships, and 1 Hunty, the captain of which Basil seemed to regard as some sort of relative.
Hope you had a nice summer.
Basil purred when they met him for dinner that evening.
We certainly did. Have you heard that the minstrels are singing songs about me?
Silvio barked a laugh. He signed.
Just you.
Basil waved a hand.
They might have mentioned you as well. Also, are you aware that your quartermaster has kittens in one of my nest boxes? They're sure to be enormous pests as soon as they become mobile. I expect you'll foster one or two.
Silvio blinked.
He has what?
Pharrell came quickly out from behind Lou.
Basil.
Basil looked confused.
Well, I thought... You haven't told him?
If ocelots could blush, then Pharrell would have been blushing. Gerard crouched next to him.
Fiera, isn't it?
She was Basil's ship's cat. Pharrell's eyes darted to Gerard and then back to Silvio.
I was going to tell you. I just thought you might think it was a little weird.
He mumbled.
I think it's a little weird.
Silvio exploded.
Pharrell, as long as you've known me, she could have come aboard earlier this summer, as though I would have a problem with anyone else's kittens.
He was tripping over his signing, so Gerard translated for him.
Have you been down to see them?
Demanded Silvio.
I just got here.
Well, you should be dying to see them. I am dying to see them. Let's go.
He was still muttering in his head as they started down into the hold.
Afraid of what I might think. Where did he get that from? As many years as we've sailed together.
Fiera seemed a little startled by the sudden influx of shelts into the nest box where she'd been keeping her children. However, she gave a coy flip of her tail when she saw Pharrell.
Oh, so he's come back.
I didn't think I'd be away for so long.
I've heard that one before.
But she was purring.
I take it I'm going to lose my ship's cats.
Said Basil.
Stick around.
Said Gerard.
We'll have another for you.
There were 3 kittens. Their eyes were just starting to open, watery blue slits that blinked sleepily in the light from the portal window. Silvio crouched and ran his hands over the confusion of cream and mahogany fur among the straw.
He wants to know if he can pick one up,
said Gerard. Fiera sniffed.
Well, at least he's close to the ground if he drops her.
Silvio says he's been looking out for Pharrell's kids for a long time.
Pharrell grimaced.
That's the truth.
Fiera laughed.
Shelt's kids. Kittens. For such a shy one, you do get around.
Silvio had picked up one of the kittens. It was about the right size for an infant foxling. He cradled it like a baby and made faces at it.
Oh, you are definitely coming back with us. Yes, you are.
The kitten reached out to touch Silvio's face with its paw.
Mom?
It managed.
Milk?
Piped up another from the pile. They were learning to talk.
There was one more,
said Fiera quietly.
But something was wrong with him.
Pharrell shut his eyes.
I should have been here.
The kitten was sucking on one of Silvio's fingers and batting at his hair. Basil came over and distracted it with a dangling gold chain.
I hate to interrupt this moment of domesticity, but our food is getting cold.
Silvio returned the kitten reluctantly to its siblings, and all the Shelts went back to the dining cabin.
Soon they'll be underfoot and in the way,
said Basil.
They scratch and chew and vomit and shit. Trust me, you don't want them in your cabin. Also, if you're going to take them aboard, be sure that griffin of yours knows what they are. I've had griffins mistake ocelot kittens for rats. And do not give me that look, Silvio, because I know you don't know this stuff. You never had ocelots aboard, or griffins.
We'll be careful,
said Gerard. Over the next yellow month, as they threaded their way through Masian waters, the kittens fulfilled Basil's predictions with interest. They grew rapidly into bouncing, tussling, shouting balls of energy that their mother made little effort to control. They could be destructive. They were also delightfully entertaining. Silvio immediately disregarded Basil's advice about letting them into his cabin. He loved to sit on his floor and trail a bit of silk or feather around the room for the kittens to chase. He allowed them to destroy a good chair leg and chew the laces off 2 pairs of boots. In the evening, when he and Dakar played her game, the kittens would cavort around them. Arton liked the kittens almost as much as Silvio did. He had, apparently, specialized in land felids, so he could tell Fiera exactly when to expect them to pass various stages in their development. Fiera herself adopted a permissive attitude towards her children, namely that they were not her problem once they left her nest in the straw. She continued to be fascinated and amused by Pharrell, whom she did not seem to regard as a true cat. Arton and Phineas broke and reset Felbane's wing the day after they left Mance. It was not a pleasant process, but they made certain it was mercifully quick. Afterward, Phineas produced some poppy pulp from his bags, which stopped Felbane's whining and bellowing, and rendered him glassy-eyed and sleepy for the rest of the day. From then on, Phineas took it upon himself to ensure that Felbane received daily time on the deck, as well as assisted exercise for his wing. The kittens actually proved an asset in this. After Felbane got used to them, he seemed to enjoy their visits to his nest box, chattering in their high-pitched voices and romping around him in the straw. In what seemed like no time, the 4 ships passed the last of Masia's outer holdings and reached the outer waters of Masia Minor. Gerard was impressed, but not entirely surprised, to see 4 more ships waiting for them at the rendezvous point on the outer side of Masia 81. One was the Defiance. The other 3 turned out to be pirate ships. 2 were resistance pirates, with crews composed entirely of fawns. The other was a newly minted pirate, crewed mostly by Ocelon sailors, who'd been abandoned by various vessels and denied further employment after the events on CERN turned ugly. Together, the 8 ships made a formidable ensemble. Gerard supposed that only a large force of organized sea watch or military vessels would dare attack them. Gawain flew over on Pegasus almost as soon as they arrived. He looked fit, sun-browned, and happy. His pale blue hair had bleached even paler in the summer sun, and he had bells in his braid today.
Hello, Silvio! Hello, Gerard! Glad you could join us!
We brought more money,
said Gerard.
We brought kittens,
signed Silvio. Gawain laughed.
Are they Hydra kittens, or have you started collecting more mundane life forms?
They're Pharrell's kittens. Gawain, have you heard everything that's going on in Wefravane? The news from CERN? Did you know they're printing your book on Sweetleaf now?
So I'm told. And really, it's not my book anymore, it's our book. Everyone's. The whole Crescent seems to be writing it and rewriting it. Have you heard that several dozen of the larger holdings have taken advantage of the confusion to declare their independence from the Great Islands? Mordant of the Lawless Lands has reclaimed those outer islands that CERN won in the last war. And of course CERN's holdings are in a state of anarchy. The local lords are trying to keep everything together on their own islands. Some are succeeding, some aren't. I'm told that a number of temples have been attacked. In some cases, their gods have been killed.
Gerard nodded.
So my question is, do you think we still need to go to Masia Minor? Do you think the gods and the king of Masia Major will still try to cleanse the island of fawns with everything else that's happening?
Gawain frowned.
I was having the same discussion with Selwyn this afternoon. He thinks that if the Masian fawns are smart, they'll form alliances with some of these struggling holdings who want independence. Alliances with Grishnards in exchange for support. A little diplomacy in the right places could put Masia Minor well on its way to becoming an independent fawn government. Selwyn thinks like you do, that we've done our bit and we should just sail away.
Silvio signed.
And what do you think?
Gawain looked at the deck.
The group should decide by vote, but I'm still going over there to talk to them. They asked for me. The water sprite burned and some of its crew died trying to get me to come home. I'll go by myself if necessary.
I thought you'd say that.
Silvio signed.
I'll come with you.
Gerard frowned at him. Gawain did not look pleased either.
Silvio, do you know who Serengale is?
The Zed leader on the island?
She and her Zeds used to catch Grishnard hunters and burn them on the Firebird monuments at the full of every red moon. They hung the monuments with skulls. I'll be blunt. I don't want her getting a hold of you.
Silvio didn't say anything. Gawain sighed.
I was going to invite all the captains and officers to the Defiance for dinner to talk about it, but there are a lot of us now, and Fang is the largest ship.
Silvio grinned.
So, bring them here.
Chapter 23. Another Invitation.
The fauns and other creatures that live on Asia Minor are a unique society, shaped by pressures peculiar to their unnatural environment. They see themselves as the last bastion of free-living fauns in Wefravain. They think they can preserve their tribes and customs by their strange pact with Grishnard hunters. However, it is demonstrably true that the tribes and customs present on the island today look nothing like those of 200 or 300 years ago. Gwaine, the non-Grishnards of Wefravain.
Although they were anchored in the lee of the island, the seas were still too rough to set up tables on deck. The dining cabin did not have room for all the pertinent officers, not to mention the 2 Pegasus that Gwaine said should attend, so the dinner was planned as a walkabout on deck. The deck was scrubbed, supplies stowed, food prepared, and the bronze wyvern figurehead polished until it gleamed. By the time the stars came out, a great many Resistance pirates were walking about, laughing and talking, on the deck of what had once been the flagship of the Temple Sea Watch. Gerard wandered among them, introducing himself to those he did not know, greeting those he did. Many of the newcomers seemed awkward around him, but no one was openly hostile. After a while, he got tired of talking to strangers, and went looking for friends. He found Mink, Lou, and Silvio chatting to each other over one of Pharrell's kittens.
I wish Fiara would go ahead and name them,
said Lou.
It's traditional to wait until Moon Festival, but if she doesn't name them soon, the sailors will. One of the kittens already thinks his name is Buttercream. What sort of name is that for a talking beast?
Mink nodded.
And while you're watching the sailors, make sure they aren't feeding Buttercream any rum. They can be generous with things they love.
Silvio was signing.
You wouldn't want talking beasts to be named anything so foolish as a color.
Lou stuck out her tongue at him.
I didn't mean you.
He waved his hand, lace cuffs aflutter.
But I do have a pet name.
He signed to Lou.
I'm sure my mother was drunk when she named me. If I'd been her color, she probably would have called me Red.
Gerard came up beside him.
I like your name.
Silvio grinned.
I like you.
He'd been nothing but jokes and mischief earlier in their cabin.
What do you think of these kittens, Gerard?
Asked Mink.
Anything like griffin cubs?
Griffin cubs are calmer, and they do most of their frolicking in the air. Ocelot kittens?
He scratched his head.
They are the most adorable creatures by which I have ever been bitten.
Except me.
Lou laughed so hard that she nearly choked on her drink. Gerard could feel the heat under his collar.
Yes.
Mink started to laugh too. Gerard realized that she'd understood more of the signing than he'd thought.
Excuse me,
said Lou.
It looks like my husband is bothering someone.
Silvio trailed after her.
He's not, actually. Gwaine says he wants to write a book about Hunty.
Oh dear.
Gerard followed them. Basil and his second-in-command, Sachel, were talking to Gwaine in an animated fashion. Lou took Basil's glass away from him.
What are you drinking?
It's not wine,
he said, and tried to take it back.
It's tea. Something new.
Lou sniffed it.
I'll bet. What's it called?
Coca leaf with something called cola nut. Perfectly harmless, probably medicinal.
Probably not medicinal,
she said, as she handed it back.
So, you're saying that most Hunty don't read because they don't really have a written language,
said Gwaine to Sachel. Sachel shrugged. He spoke with a faint accent.
We can learn the Grishnard pictures?
Because it's not phonetic,
finished Gwaine.
Learning from pictures is difficult,
said Sachel with a grimace.
Waste of a child's time. Harder for the adult.
Gwaine nodded.
And you don't use the phonetic because it doesn't have characters that accurately represent the sounds in your language.
Yes.
So, make up new characters.
Sachel scratched his mottled hair.
Why?
He has got you there, sir,
said Basil with a smirk. Gwaine looked exasperated.
It will open up worlds of possibility.
Basil threw his arm around Sachel.
There you go, Sashes. Worlds.
Sachel looked unconvinced.
So I'll do it,
said Gwaine.
I'll make you a written language. It would just involve adding a few characters to the phonetic, or perhaps reassigning sounds. From what I've heard, the Hunty have rich oral traditions that deserve documentation.
Basil smiled sweetly.
I would be delighted to introduce you to our oral traditions.
Blue gave him a whack in the ribs.
What?
Take him seriously. He's serious.
All right.
Serwin had come up behind Gerard.
So what do you think? Can we sail out of this wyvern's nest while we're all still whole and sane? Or do we really need to visit the recreational murder park?
Gerard turned to him.
You don't have to convince me. The last time I stepped foot on Masia Minor.
He hadn't really allowed himself to think about that.
Last time I lost everything. I'm all for leaving tomorrow. But Gwaine wants...
I know what he wants. He thinks he owes them, but he doesn't. I'll tell you something about Masia Minor, Gerard. They're all victims, and they're all hunters. They've even got a word for it. No-fault game. It means you don't blame the fawn sand pilot who brings the hunters over who kill your brother. It means you don't blame the fawn cook who feeds the hunters who cripple you for life. It's all part of the game, and it's no one's fault. Except you can't just dismiss pain and anger that easily. Underneath everything on Masia Minor, there's a poisonous current of undirected rage. I'll tell you the truth. I don't like the fawns there.
Gerard looked at him curiously.
Why don't they just leave? Join resistance ships. Migrate on Pegasus.
Serwin shook his head.
Because they think they're free.
So there's a bit of a disagreement between the fawns who work on pirate ships and the ones who choose to stay on Masia Minor?
You could say that.
Behind them, Basil, Lou, and Sachel were still talking to Gwaine about Hunty culture. Gerard heard Gwaine say,
He has an earring where?
It's not an earring,
said Basil patiently.
If we could just...
continued Serwin, and then someone screamed. Gerard turned towards the sound in time to see their guests scattering to the edges of the deck. In the center stood a copper and gold wyvern dripping from the sea. It was perhaps twice the size of Dakar. One of the fawn pirate captains unstrapped a weapon that Gerard had never seen before, a battle hammer with a spike on one end, clearly designed to kill wyverns.
I have a message,
spat the wyvern.
For Gwaine Masia.
The wyvern's form dissolved just as the fawn with the hammer reached it. He recoiled from the beautiful, white-clad Grishnard girl who stood on the deck. She cast the fawn a contemptuous glance, her pale neck a delicate curve in the moonlight, her dark hair blowing in the wind. The fawn did not seem to know what to do. He raised his hammer uncertainly, but Gwaine held up a hand.
Let us speak.
There was a moment of silence, during which Gerard could hear the creaking of the rigging and the crackle of torches. Then the wyvern spoke.
My mistress congratulates you on your success, Prince Masia. Half of Wefrevane is in chaos. Shelts are killing each other, tearing down temples and attacking the gods across the crescent. Obviously, you understand rulership far better than she. Since this is the case, she humbly asks to know your plans for the islands, presuming you do not intend to leave them in their present state.
A moment of silence. Gerard glanced at Gwaine. His face was inscrutable. Serwin opened his mouth to say something angry, but the wyvern spoke again.
What? No plans? Surely the rumors are not true that, having provoked civil war, you intend to creep off to another country. After all your high talk of ethics and fairness and reason, does it all come down to profane jokes and blood in the streets? My mistress would expect nothing more from, say, Silvio Lemire. But she was under the impression that Gwaine Masia claimed to be just and ethical. Is this true or not?
Gerard spoke.
Morchella made this mess, not Gwaine. All Gwaine did was tell Shelts that it was a mess.
The wyvern turned her gaze on Gerard. She looked disturbingly like her mistress, but Gerard was fairly certain that this was not Morchella.
Gerard,
she purred, and her form shifted again. Gerard blinked. The girl standing on deck had golden hair, white eyes, and a smile he remembered. He felt heavy all over. She gave a laugh, and it was achingly familiar.
We all know what it takes to make you walk away from duty. Not much.
Enough!
Snarled Serwyn.
Wyvern, you've got 2 breaths to say something meaningful before someone bashes your head in and takes your pretty pelt.
The girl's hair grew dark again, and her eyes flashed green.
Such civility. Ah, well, it's what we expected. My mistress is willing to parley. She sent a summons some time ago to the kings of the great islands and the small kingdoms, as well as some of the larger holdings. They will meet in 3 days with the fawn leaders in the Great Lodge of Masia Minor, which, as you know, is ancient neutral ground. Perhaps we will decide on a new order of things. Are you willing to be part of that? Or are you nothing but words on paper?
She rose in a liquid arc that was, for an instant, a beautiful girl with wings. Then she was all wyvern, flying like a huge gleaming bat into the night. You have been listening to The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton. Copyright Abigail Hilton. The ebook for Cowry Catchers Book 5 includes 16 illustrations in ink and watercolor by Sarah Cloutier, as well as 13 portraits by Greensprite and 2 versions of the map by Jeff McDowell. The ebook is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, iBooks, and Kobo. The rest of the series is also available as illustrated ebooks, and the entire series is available in non-illustrated paper on Amazon. Visit my website at abigailhilton.com for information, including how to get 25% discounts on paper books and how to order signed books. This podcast included the vocal talents of
Nathan Lowell
as Gerard,
Norm Sherman
as Silvio,
Chris Lester
as Gwaine,
J. Daniel Sawyer
as Basil,
Amy Watkins
as Lou,
Terry Mixon
as Pharrell,
Brian Lincoln
as Serwyn,
Veronica Jiguer
as Mink,
Rish Outfield
as Arton,
B.A. Shane Holzer
as Fiera and Ocelot Kittens,
Chaz Blanchard
as Sachelle,
Lauren Scribe Harris
as a wyvern priestess,
Kimmy Alexander
as Thessalyn. Sound effects for this podcast were provided by SoundSnap, the Free Sound Project, and Sound Dogs. The intro music was Grace by Beth Quist. The outro music was Beauty, also by Beth Quist. Both were licensed with permission from Magnatune.net. Music for Book 5 of Cowry Catchers included selections from Digital Juice at digitaljuice.com and Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. It also included additional music from Beth Quist, Diana Rowan, Jamie Saber, and David Modica, all from Magnatune.net. All the music was licensed and used according to the terms of the websites. This is a standard copyright now. This podcast is provided for your personal enjoyment only. You can download and archive the episodes for your personal use. You may not re-upload, mirror, or publicly redistribute the audio files, nor can you alter, remix, or create derivative works. And I'm back. This is 2026 Abby, coming to you with a few thoughts on the episode. So listening to this now, I think it's interesting that Arton could read as trans or non-binary or just kind of standard gay. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that he is a queer kid in a very difficult home situation, which is so distressingly common, and Silvio does what he knows to do, which is imperfect, but it gets Arton out of that situation. And I think that many queer kids can identify with some of this, no matter what stripe of queer they happen to be. This is also the point in the story where Lauren Harris gets some lines. Lauren is another writer that I met in the course of producing the Cowry Catchers novels. She became a lifelong friend. We recently went on a writing retreat to Ocracoke Island. It was our second year of going on that particular retreat, and we have done a bunch of writing trips together. I made friends with her kind of late in the production of these novels. Lauren is a superb voice actor, but I didn't make friends with her until later in the production of these books, or she certainly would have had a more major character. She was the one who did the Wyvern Priestess at the end of these chapters. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, that was Lauren. She went on to do all of the Incubus books for me, and I would like to do a couple more of those books. She's a very good narrator, so if you would like to hear a lot more of Lauren in some really saucy books, like truly the spiciest books I've ever written, the Incubus series would be all Lauren's voice. And if you would like to listen to us chatter away and giggle and tell silly jokes on writers' retreats, that is all on my Patreon. All right, that's all I've got for now. I will see you in the next episode. This is Abigail Hilton, and you have been listening to the Pirates of Wefravain Saga. Join me on Patreon for early episodes, long-form interviews, forum access, personal updates, and lots of artwork, including maps and species charts. That's patreon.com/Abigail Hilton. If you want the whole story now with no interruptions and some remastering of the early books for sound quality, you can find the entire series at shop.abigailhilton.com, along with all my other novels. The audiobooks are delivered by BookFunnel. Background music was Hidden Sky by Jamie Sieber, licensed from Magnatune.net circa 2014. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers podcast is an audio adaptation of the Pirates of Wefravain Saga, written and produced by Abigail Hilton. Original production copyright 2010. All rights are reserved to the author.